Tuesday's severe weather was not an isolated incident. It's part of what's been an active July across the Garden State, and one that was driven by excessive heat, a little bit of humidity, and some unusual kinks in the weather pattern. This was a look at our water spout from our Tuesday. There it is, swirling in the Delaware Bay. Now, this water spout made its way onshore into Cape May Point and then eventually became a tornado for a brief period of time on land. So we take a look at that Cape May Point tornado, came onshore, went across a few streets, and then by the time it got to Lake Lily, which isn't that far from the beach, it dissipated. That being said, it lasted for about a minute long. It had top winds of 70 miles an hour. Again, it was a water spout that turned a tornado, and we had tree damage on multiple roads here. Now, that's the first time since 1950 that Cape May Point has seen a tornado in its town, and it was one of four tornadoes statewide on Tuesday. Keep in mind, our average is two, although there's a lot of variation in that from year to year. But we did have three in Morris County, and then, of course, the one in Cape May Point. With the tornado came some heavy rainfall totals, particularly in Cape May County, where Wildwood saw 2.52 inches of rain. PJ Hondros, who's our vice president of Surely Safe, he lives in the Wildwoods. He said this was the worst flooding from rain in a long time there. So, this will look at our radar history, watch it kind of expand and move into the southern part of New Jersey and up the Jersey Shore as we go from our Tuesday to Wednesday here. Here are the storms developing during the day on Tuesday. And here they are as we reset the loop. See that line of oranges and reds moving through Cape May County. That was that significant rain and even that tornado that came across the area. So, this was the first time in 5 years that Cape May County saw a tornado. The last one was actually in Woodbine back in 2021. It was a stronger tornado and a wider tornado, about 75 yards wide, but it still didn't go all that far. We take a look at what's happened in Cape May County since 1950. There's only been 9 tornadoes in the county. Keep in mind, Cape May County is a pretty average sized county for the state of New Jersey. The strongest one we had was an EF2. Actually, it was called an F2 back in the day. It's called Fujita Scale 2. Now it's called Enhanced Fujita Scale 2. That happened in 1956 and in 1971. And there has only been one injury, thankfully, since 1950s. No deaths associated with that. But there has not been a tornado since 1950 in Sea Isle City, in Avalon, in Stone Harbor, or in any of the wildwoods here. This is according to the Office of the New Jersey State Climatologist. Now, we take a look at our July in review. Take a look at these colors. They all correspond to a risk of severe weather from the Storm Prediction Center. That's a government agency in Norman, Oklahoma. We have had 12 days in total through the 24th with some kind of severe weather forecasted for the state of New Jersey. That's half the amount of days. Three of them are an enhanced risk or a level 3 of 5. That included July 4th, which saw tremendous heavy downpours and damaging winds. The 18th, which saw tornado warnings, but no confirmed tornadoes in the state. And then what we saw on the 21st with the 4 tornadoes in New Jersey. You kind of add this all up, we have seen 18 severe or tornado watches or warnings by the National Weather Service. This is from July 1st until July 24th. On average, the number of times we would see this is 14.3. So we are more active than average throughout the month. So what is driving this severe weather? Well, in part, it has to do with the heat. A lot of times, big time heat gets broken with big time thunderstorms. And that's exactly what we saw on July 4th. That's exactly what we saw on July 18th. And we even saw that on the 21st, although that heat was only for one day. So we take a look at this, and we saw in 2026 so far, temperatures are at least 2 degrees above average. In fact, Atlantic City International Airport is in the top 3 for the warmest, or should I say, hottest Julys on record. And what we've also seen too is some unusual kinks in the mid-level weather pattern. This is a look at what's happening about 18,000 feet high, where you see those pinks and those lines that kind of dip down out of eastern Canada. That's a trough of lower pressure that increases the amount of spin in the atmosphere, and that can help to drive tornadoes. This is something we would see more in the spring or even in the fall, not so much in the summer. So when you have that summertime heat, but you have that spring or fall like atmospheric pattern, that helps drive more active than usual severe weather. One good news in all this is the drought situation. While we are still in a NJDEP drought warning, the amount of New Jersey in drought has dropped 12% from the beginning of the month to the 23rd of July.